As we near the end of this month, which I can't believe we are almost halfway through this year, I am going into my farmhouse season of crafting. Friends, I love this season. I love farmhouse decor, especially when it's French cottage. Now we're going to be making some Dollar Tree crafts using their supplies to stay on a crafter's budget. So come along and let's make something beautiful for our homes. The Dollar Tree has their plus section, and I found this crate. I believe it was $3. It might have been $5. They also have this wire basket over in their home organization section. And then I'm also going to be using this stencil that I got off of Amazon. I will link it, or one that is similar to it. Start by taking your wire cutters and you're going to cut the basket where you leave the rounded edge at the top and cut away the back portion. I'm showing that all you got to do is bend it back and forth a couple of times and it comes off very easily, and this is what it should look like. So it's flat on the inside with those curved upper pieces. Go ahead and toss away what you don't need. And now I'm going to mark an area where I'm going to be drilling some holes. We are turning this crate into a wall shelving unit where you can use things to store in the basket or do it all decor wise. I think this could be super cute in a bathroom if you put some linen towels in it to store those on a wall. It could also be beautiful if you store mail in it. All kinds of things you can do with this cool wall crate shelf. Now I'm just bending those wires straight and out, and then I'm squishing the basket in just ever so slightly on the inside, so that way it fits nicely inside of this crate. It's almost a perfect fit, but it just needs to be squished just a tiny bit. Where I drew those pencil lines, I'm going to drill out 2 holes, so that way I can test it before I paint it to make sure it's all lined up properly, and those fit in there perfectly. Isn't this so cute already? I removed the wire basket from it, and now I'm going to do a rough coat of white paint. I really love that chic French cottage look to the farmhouse decor, so I'm going to leave it where it's roughly painted, not heavily saturated in white paint. Once I've gone around with my paint roughly, I'm going to let it dry. That's really important since we are going to be using a stencil. You don't want the stencil to go down on top of wet paint. It's going to cause things to smudge. So take your heat gun or a fan, let it dry really well, because when you paint wood, it can be porous and keep things wet longer. Now this stencil was a little too wide and I needed it to fit down into this box, so I just trimmed off some of the side. It's not a big deal. And then I'm going to take some washi tape and just hold it in place. Now the trick with stencils, I've been using stencils for years. You want to use a rounded stencil brush. I will link my stencil brush down below if you don't have one and you're looking for one and this is your first time wanting to try stencils. But you're going to put some paint on your brush and then pretty much wipe off all of it. You want to dry brush when you're using stencils. You don't want your paint super heavy on your brush, because what happens is it'll just seep underneath the stencil and it'll cause it to smudge and blur. But if you just do different layers of dry brushing, I usually do about 3, you will get the cleanest image for a stencil and it looks so beautiful. Now to clean my stencils, because I like to promote taking care of your supplies, you want to make sure they last a long time, I lay a wipey underneath it and then I take another wipey and I rub it until I get it all cleaned off. Once everything was dried, I went ahead and popped my basket back inside through those pre-drilled holes, and now I'm going to bend the wire down. You're going to need a little bit of a straight line because it's got to come across that wood of the crate and then sneak down in between the crate hole. You can see here where it's nice and flat now. I'm going to come around and twist it onto the inside, locking it all into place. Now the thing about the wire is that it can end up reaching and folding all the way in properly, but even then I just don't want anybody getting scratched. So I like to take a tiny little dot of hot glue and I always put it right at the end of the wire just to keep anybody from getting scratched or it just getting caught on anything. On the back side, I'm going to be using some of these little hang up tabs that I got off of a project the other day. There were these rounded mirrors that I turned into a lantern. I'm going to just twist those right on to secure it so we can hang it up on a wall. And that's it. We have a beautiful French cottage farmhouse decor piece. Now, shutter farmhouse pieces are nothing new, but I'm going to just do my version, my take on it, because I wanted to show the Dollar Tree had these long pieces of wood in their craft section, and I'm going to take 2 rulers as well to bring it all together. Cut off those twine strings, you don't need those. Get the 2 rulers, you're going to cut those down. I'm using these miter shears. Again, they're not my favorite. I don't think they cut through the best. But when you go back and forth on your cut line a few times, it does have a much cleaner look than when you're trying to use a pair of scissors or having to go outside and use a big tool. So as long as your hands don't have arthritis, this is a great tool. You can see here that I'm just kind of marking my lines, going back and forth, and then right around here, you'll see that I'll be able to finally break it apart. Once I had it broken apart, I'm now going to add some hot glue, wanting to cover up those holes because I don't want to see those. I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to lay that right on top of it, and I'm using a lot of glue because I want it to hold together nice and tight. And then I'm going to also add that wood ruler to the other side, the bottom side of our shutter that we're making. This is such an easy project. The biggest part is just simply cutting the ruler. I think is the hardest part, but even then, you saw, that was real speed, real time that I cut it in. Now I'm going to paint the whole thing black. You can paint it whatever color you want. And the reason why I love these shutter pieces, and I think they are still very much so relevant in the cottage farmhouse look, is because if you have a skinny wall, like by a staircase or by a front door or next to a cabinet of some kind, they are just the perfect decor piece to hang up on a wall that gives you some interest in an area that you might not necessarily know what to hang there. I love these pieces because it really does dress up even the skinniest wall, and it really makes your home just look so cozy and inviting. Now I glue a rope to the back of it so I can hang it up. And now for the ribbon and the wreath that I'm going to put on the front. You can see here that I've cut a piece of ribbon down, and I'm not going to glue the whole thing because I want the ribbon to wrap around the wreath we're going to make. I'm using a small plate. I'm just going to draw a circle around with a pencil so I can get the size of the wreath that I want. And then I'm using some greenery from the Dollar Tree. I just took it all apart, and I'm going to lay that right into the hot glue. I decided to go around more than once. I actually went around 3 times with all the greenery because I wanted to make it look like a full luscious wreath, so that way it doesn't just look like I DIY'd this. I want it to look store-bought. I really have that goal here in my craft room, always to teach you all how to go the extra mile to make it not look like we DIY'd it, but we make it look so high-end, like we bought it from the store, but we did it on a crafter's budget, which is always my favorite. All right, you can see here that I've gone around twice. I ended up going around one more time. And then I'm going to come in with the boxwood that they also have at the Dollar Tree. Both of these greeneries are at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to snip it down because I'm going to use it to fill in the greenery. Now, total cost that I spent on this, let's add it up. I know the wood was about $3. The greenery was about $3 because I ended up having 3 picks. And then the ribbon, which is $1, but I bought it back at Halloween. It's just a little bit of it. So 3 and 3. I would say maybe I spent like at most $8 on this to make, maybe $9. Not really that much. Now you can see at this point I pulled the ribbon over, I glued it down, and I'm going to add a bow to finish off the look. But friends, if you were to buy something like this at a decor store, they would easily charge you $30 to $40 for this. I hope you give this one a try. I found this beautiful, I could not believe this was at the Dollar Tree, decor heart piece in their home section. I'm going to use a painter stick, this darling little box from the craft section, and a piece of foam, as well as some foam, and as well as some greenery and some Spanish moss. I wanted to bring all of this together because I really do feel like hearts are not just one that you use for just only Valentine's Day. I like to use hearts in my home all the time, especially in French country cottage decor. I think that it is just such a high-end, beautiful look. And who doesn't want to promote love all year long? Especially if it's not pink and red. We're going with neutral farmhouse cottage core colors. I cut down this painter stick, I glued it to the back, and then to really enforce it, I used 2 staples from my staple gun. I will make sure I link down below all of my tools from this video in the description box. Once that was glued into place, I added in the foam, and then I'm going to add in a lot of hot glue to really lock it in there. The hot glue was taking a little bit of time to dry, so I took off the tag on the front, and then it was still taking a long time to dry. So I just ended up using these clips, and that held it into place while it finished drying. That seemed to be the trick. Once it was all dry, I could finally paint it. I painted the box and the stick, the painter stick. I ended up painting them the same color as the heart. It was already pre-done from the Dollar Tree. I let all of that dry really well, and after it was dry, I then could move on to decorating this box. I made sure that I added in a nice amount of glue inside the box, so that way I could add in some foam and make sure that we don't see that foam. I don't want to see the foam. It's not that pretty. It's going to conceal everything with this Spanish moss. And then I'm just going to tuck that around and fluff it out just a little bit, making sure it's nice and covered and concealed. This is going to give it that high class look so you don't see the bits and bobs of how things are made. Once you've got all of that cleaned up, I'm now going to move on to adding in some greenery. And you can add in whatever greenery you want. You can add a bow to this. You can add ribbon to this. You could put a picture backing the heart so you have someone's picture inside of it. You could even put a piece of chipboard in there with a word on it that says welcome and put this at the front door. Or you can say love is spoken here. You could do so many things to customize the inside of that heart and change up whatever you want to use to decorate in the box. The idea is to don't just take these wall pieces you see at the Dollar Tree and just hang them on the wall. You can make them become a vertical decor piece that you can put on an entry table, a bookshelf, next to your kitchen sink, and it is so easy to make. I love showing how easy it is to get this high-end look. So I've added in some boxwood and some of these little white salvia sprigs, and now I'm going to add back on my tag label at the front that I took off so I could paint the box. I'm just going to screw that all back into place so that way we can complete the look of this project. And you definitely could put a little tag inside of the little metal tag holder, but I'm going to leave that blank because I'm going to go for just a neutral look. And that completes the project. So easy to make, so high end, and it has the most beautiful farmhouse finish. I love that I'm in the farmhouse season where I get to bring in the French country cottage look to my home. I love this look for my home. It is so evergreen, and you get to use these things throughout those off seasons of fall and Christmas and spring. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It always helps out my channel. Leave a comment down below if you still love Farmhouse. Let me know. I'm going to recommend this video right here. Don't forget to go check it out. You will enjoy it if you enjoyed this one. Thanks for being here today, and until the next episode, bye friends.